Welcome to the House of Holiness, Jerusalem. Today we have in our hands one of the classics, clearing the Middle East of the pesky Crusaders. So grab a shotgun, cause we have a sea of infidels to cut through. And the Christian bullshit cleansing starts at the riverbed of the Nile. Saladin and his troops are called to deal with the goddamn French playing trickery in Cairo. We start by separating the army into two groups, cavalry and dead weight, and moving straight past the French soldiers in direction of the city. I'm going to knock some sense on the French, do you mind? We continue ignoring the French army and, well, I guess I'll have to slap some sense into you too as well. The French, although weak, are big in numbers, but we capture more alien gunpowder technology. Well, they learn fast from the French. This is pure chaos, being sandwiched by two armies, but once the Egyptians open the gates, we sneak in and gallop furiously to reach the mosque and evade the sea of knights after us. Oh, cool, so this is where the French got the idea for their wind farm in Paris. We barely make it to the mosque and the Egyptians show their great prowess on learning from their colonizers and resign instantly. With no time to waste, we run towards the gates and... crap, this one's locked. Religious tolerance. The Egyptians bequeath us some camels and a siege ram, and we gotta move on to beat some sense on more Frenchies. Like raving lunatics, we charge their city with bloodshot eyes, ignoring everything to go straight for their town center. It's not the smartest idea, and we are forced to fight until it's no longer viable, and the only option becomes luring them away so the ram can finish the job. It didn't go as planned, and we're off to a great start. Just gotta restart this real quick and maybe try to be more methodic and tone down on the recklessness. We divide the army once again between deadweight and cavalry, but this time we use the deadweight to distract the French while the cavalry runs around. Big words from someone who eats nails. We take a wider route this time and are graced by the sight of the pyramids. And this time, instead of running past them, we start a re-education of the Crusaders. And once the class is over, we move on to try and sneak into Cairo. They take much longer to react this time, but once an anxious camel rushes out, we sneak in and start making way towards the mosque. Easy peasy, and we have a lot more units left than last time. This time we will go all together to avoid the embarrassment of losing to the French. Oh cool, the new model of the pyramids has an entrance here. We march towards the objective, and why do I have 1,000 of each resource if we can't have any buildings? Instead of running at them like rabid Saracen honey badgers, we escort the ram slowly to make sure we don't have another incident. Welcomed once again by onager shots, we rush into the city, plowing through their army, and even though our army refuses to go and protect the ram for some reason, we end up with the upper hand in the battle, and another victory is achieved by religious tolerance. Yeah, this is taking forever. If only these Mongoloids defended the ram like I told them to. Seems like it wasn't just the Egyptians that took lessons from the French here. Coward. After a long and painful 3 minutes of cavalry versus town center, it falls. And with it, the French. And the Arabian night is over, in 11 minutes and 50 seconds. But the senseless beating of the French is far from being over, and we are back to fight an old buddy of ours, Reynald. His forces are divided into three: pirates, bandits, and raiders. All three words that just transpire good and wholesomeness, right? Meanwhile, we must also defend the cities of Aqaba and Medina from the Crusaders' camp. Little fun fact, Medina is about 900 kilometers away from Aqaba. How did Saladin defend both at the same time? The initial force is sent straight away to clear the way towards the raiders' camp, as they are the closest threat to us. Also cause I watched Chazzy B speedrunning this, and he made it seem so easy to sneak in and kill all their villagers. But it's fine, because the second part of the speedrun was a town center drop inside the pirates' camp. I don't feel like suffering that much. Fucking come at me, Reynald. I've beaten you before, I'll do it again. Now check out this farm placement. Far enough to trigger people, but not far enough to disrupt anything. I don't really care, Aqaba. Call me when they're inside the city. Castle Age queued up, and the preparations go as planned. I would like to take the time to petition the devs to stop fucking up my settings with every patch. Where are my 2 tips? With Castle Age researched, the camels start being trained straight away. Forbearance Heights, a brand new beachfront development just outside Aqaba. The start is much slower than previously hoped for, but it's better to be prepared for the imperial forces of bitch boy Reynald. Also because I had to focus on more important things, like making sure this farm continues isolated. Ugh, Reynald is such an ingrown hair. With the small army, we roll again towards the raiders, plowing through their pathetic army until we are faced against the worst walls ever. And because that's not enough, they also train their own siege. We at least managed to sneak in and bully their army, and scout where to find the villagers we must slaughter. It's a giant pain in the ass to deal with them being locked inside their base, but we do a considerable amount of damage to their economy while we train a bigger force of camels back home. Are camels the best option here? Probably not, but I do like to make my armies historically accurate, and camels just fit really well with the name Lord of Arabia. We rushed their camp once again, only to find out his troops went around me to bully my villagers. That threw me off completely, and I ended up losing most of my army in Cian's base without even taking down the gates. Fuck you, Mangano. Thankfully we had some rams on the way, and with the trickle of reinforcements we are able to push into the camp. Now you may be thinking, this is garbage, failing the first scenario and struggling this much in the second, but this is actually going much better than expected for me. I have tried finishing this campaign since I got the game as a Christmas gift in 1999, and have never went further than the third scenario. Actually, 4 months ago I tried doing this campaign and I had to leave it for later as I couldn't wrap my mind around how on earth to finish the third scenario. So bear with me, because this might be my crowning gaming achievement. The raiders' camp is mostly destroyed, and we step outside to find out Reynaud decided to rebuild the siege workshop before anything else. I hate him so much. But their spite was also their demise, and I intercept the town center being built, and shortly after they throw in the towel. The pirates become the next target, and a series of docks is ordered just outside of Medina, along with a little pack of rams to deal with their buildings. Medina applauds the initiative and gives us 300 gold. Thanks, guys. With a small fleet of fire ships and 3 transport ships filled with angry camels and rams, we set sail towards the pirate stronghold. We are greeted immediately by paladins, but they don't pose much of a threat, and the army slowly crawls to begin the plowing. Oh yeah, war crimes! And against the French, even better. The crawl is slow, but leaves a trail of scargo blood on the way to the town center. And with the town center out of the way, only the systemic killing of Reynaud's villagers left. But what's that? Reynaud had the same idea as me. I guess great minds do think alike. He even sent a treb, but it's futile, and he throws some petty veiled threats I'll ignore. With Reynaud out of the way, Saladin becomes the Lord of Arabia or something like this, in 1 hour, 14 minutes and 26 seconds. Awful, I know. Now we enter the wastelands of my childhood, the reason I have never amounted to anything in life, why I drink, and why I can't do well with the ladies. Horns of Hattin. Saladin must steal a true piece of the cross and bring back to his camp. Easy, right? Well, it's been 23 years that I've tried on and off to beat this and never made it. But after extensive research, I have come up with a strategy. We send everyone to gather food. Isn't this a bit contradictory? The armies move to the northernmost palisade while the villagers gather everything they can to advance to the castle age. One villager follows the army out of the wall to block the passage in the woods. Castle age on the way in 2 minutes, things you won't ever see again here. The army camps next to the forest until I am attacked by my worst enemy, myself. A monastery is hastily built in the forest, and the army marches quietly towards the Hospitallers. While the Mangonels shred the palisades, I have a little fun fact. The Hospitallers are credited with having created the world's first ambulance during the Crusades. We end up losing the Mangonel to the Teuton Knights, before the palisades could be cleared, but the remaining spearmen finish the job and run around the base to draw attention, so that the monk can walk in. Because the Hospitallers don't have atonement, our monk casually grabs a true piece of the cross and slowly makes way back to Saladin camp. The way back is oddly escorted by soldiers from every single power in the map, and since they weren't really interested in actually taking care of the cross, we walk peacefully back to the flagged area. Marking the end of Horns of Hattin in 10 minutes and 33 seconds. I can die now in peace. Well, since these tactics from the internet are so good, let's try another one. And this time is against Jerusalem, the Gotham of the Middle East. And Batman needs no big army. We move everyone towards the gates, and when a kind Templar lady opens the gate for us, the whole army walks in. First step is upgrading Jerusalem with a brand new siege workshop, and once that's done, we also build a market, as resources are limited. With the rams rolling in, we start targeting the 5 towers that need to be destroyed. I really like the design of this scenario. The city looks pretty cool and the objectives are spread far apart enough that gives it a bigger challenge with each tower. First tower falls, and because Jerusalem doesn't start with an army, the plan goes exactly as intended. There are Templar castles inside of Jerusalem, but they don't do much to the rams. The city starts training monks to stop our push, but the Mamluks put an end to the party real quick. 2 towers down. Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot you are the one making the rules here. Jerusalem has a boner for stealing my camels, but they aren't fast enough, and in quick succession the remaining 3 towers come tumbling down. Legends say this absolute failure in tower defense by Jerusalem is why Israel spent so much money in the Iron Dome. Jerusalem besieged, subdued, and conquered at the speed of light in 8 minutes and 53 seconds. The world record is about 5 minutes, so I don't think this was bad at all. But like everything nice and sweet, the fun and quick scenarios are over, and we are upon the Age of Empires equivalent of licking a plutonium rod, Jihad. This scenario is considered by many AoE scholars as being as fun as sticking your dick in a vacuum cleaner. Jihad pits Saladin and his buddies in the city of Acre, with the task to vaporize 2 of the 3 Crusader-infested cities, Ascalon, Tyre, or Tiberias. We will focus on Ascalon and Tiberias, as Tyre is an island fortress, and for that they can suck my nuts. Because being on a 3v1 is not enough, we also start in the Castle Age with virtually no resources and no army. Have I mentioned we have another enemy? The Tripoli Guard is nothing crazy, but they will attack when the clock strikes 10 minutes. So the first order of business is training some troops to not get caught with their pants down. Little fun fact, this city is called Acre, and in Brazil we have a state named after it. There's nothing important about it whatsoever. Really, it's a joke in Brazil that it doesn't even exist because no one knows someone from there. We gathered a decent army fairly quick, and decided to catch the Tripoli Guard unprepared, and are greeted by a volley of onager shots. But what is that? Tyre came to roof knock our beloved city while the army was still outside purging infidels. We rushed back, but not fast enough to avoid a good chunk of our economy being pulverized by flying rocks. The villagers are brave and run at the unprotected mangonels to try and stop them, but the Crusaders have no regard even for their own units. The attack is repelled at great cost, with the Tripoli Guard still out there coming for us. We were off to a great start, but the stone was still rolling in, and a defensive castle was ordered where Tiberias come from. They came with just siege units, that's so cancerous. Before I can even wrap my head around the toxicity that was bestowed upon me, more come from both sides, and Tiberias show his discontent for my castle under construction. The situation got more dire by the minute. I mean, what are these units made of? Oh yeah, have I mentioned that Ascalon builds a wonder? Tyre continues to ruthlessly send sergeants made of adamantium, while I try my best to scramble an army to stop the wonder. Another castle is ordered directly where Tyre's troops come from, and Imperial Age is queued up. Oh, sorry, it was a university, not a castle. We continue playing around with the sergeants while the villagers struggle to build up an economy. But Tyre gets wise to us fairly quickly and starts sending their navy. And boy, did they get pissed now. The second castle is finally ordered as the defenses of Acre start crumbling. In a quick evacuation move, the town center is moved to the neighboring allied city of Hebron. Weirdly wholesome, Tiberias offer us a truce for 1,000 gold. But fuck that, because if we take it, we have to fight in the water against Tyre. Yes, I refuse to fight against you, Tyre, because you suck. Out in Hebron, we build yet another castle, just in case they come for this one as well. In Ascalon, the wonder is halfway done, and the pressure starts building up to new levels. Look at this shit, they're sending demolition ships for the houses. You're such a bitch, Tyre. With most of the city leveled by the infidels, we are forced to rebuild it outside. But Saladin wouldn't let such an aggression go unpunished, and the army marches towards Ascalon to deal with the wonder. We are greeted by Tudon keeps, and followed by Tiberias' pack of rams. While the camels try to stop the rams, Ascalon forces join the party from the other side. Oh yeah, did I mention Tyre brought their navy? Somehow we push back, losing only 2 trebs. All trebs. But the camels run in and finish wiping Ascalon's garrison. Some camels get stuck inside the city and start destroying their buildings to kill time. I just gotta say, we wouldn't suffer nearly as much if the army wasn't so fucking incompetent. Tyre still hasn't created any drop of self-awareness and continues being a nuisance. Like seriously, who scripted this AI? We somehow managed to build some more trebs and rush back to Ascalon, this time making sure to stay as far away from the water as possible. Not that it stops Tyre from fighting us. Jesus Christ, am I playing against a xenomorph? But we managed to sneak in and start blasting at yet another layer of fortified bullshit. Just in time for Ascalon to finish their wonder. But not even Tyre can save them now, even though they tried their hardest. And the final boulder brings down the wonder. Oh yeah, have I mentioned they built a second one? Tiberias tried to help, but I keep the siege around to slaughter the villagers. I'm sure there's no other way to do this. And correct I was, Ascalon resigns. To keep the momentum, the party is immediately moved to Tiberias, but caution is paramount, for they are Persian and have citadels. This is like being forced to eat a foot-long sub, but with every bite there's more pubic hair in the dressing. It's a heavy push, with Tiberias sending another platoon of rams to destroy my trebs. Look at all these bodies splattered around in the name of acceptance and respect of different beliefs. We continue hunting down lost castles everywhere we can, until just the inner city remains. War crimes, war crimes, war crimes. At this point, Tiberias doesn't really stand a chance against Saladin, and the massacre continues until their buildings start collapsing on their own. signaling what is probably Saladin's most satisfying victory recorded, in 1 hour 26 minutes and 13 seconds. Fuck you, Tyre. But one final objective remained, defending the city of Acre against literally all of Europe. We had England, France, Italy, Jerusalem and the Templars breathing down our necks, and the objective to build and hold a wonder against endless hordes of infidels under siege. Yeah, I haven't forgotten the siege madness the scenario is. So we will fight back once again and put an end to the infidel dogs in the region, until they launch another crusade. But yeah, hope you kept the shotgun close to you. To start off, we send a small starting navy to fight Jerusalem, as their town center just sits there next to the river and the villagers are within reach. Without skipping a beat, we also moved the army towards the Knights Templar, but not without getting faced by the French on their first wave of bombarding rams. Haha, silly French. The waves of towers around the map is seriously the most unnecessary thing about this scenario, but we brought Trebs, and quickly the Templar town center joins the tower in becoming dust. As we give the Hague remote heart problems, it seems the ships did their job well, and Jerusalem becomes the first to call it quits. I didn't really prepare for the Teutonic Knights, and a lot of time is wasted in a cat and mouse game, while the Trebs clear more towers. The push continues, and as they put their faith in Christianity, I put mine in artillery. The Templars have pretty much nothing left, and the name of the game becomes, once again, Crimes Against Humanity. To speed things up, we build another castle outside the city, and with a reinforced army, we push on to the French. Aggression and speed is the name of the game here. The longer we take to punish the non-believers, the harder they become to deal with. The Mamluks are great defense for the Trebs, and we raise and murder everything that enters the line of sight, and hunt what tries to hide from us. Knights Templar submit to the scimitars, 3 to go. As messed up as hunting down unsuspecting female villagers in the forest is, it is them or us. The Franks tried their hardest to stop us, but Saladin is inevitable, and now there's only Genoa and Richard left. The Genoese are only focused on the ocean. They need God. I need napalm. I'm running out of jokes about war crimes with all this senseless villager side. But hey, there's no crime if there's no one left alive to report it. The bombing of Genoa begins well, and since they have no land units, the cleaning up is quick and painless. Well, almost painless. Once again, the towers slow us down, but we decide to not waste time on them and start moving towards the English, the final dickhead on the map. And Genoa resigns anyways. Great success. The Persians sent us some elephants to help out in the madness, which if you play the scenario in the intended way, is utterly useless. But let's see Richard stop the 2-ton death machines with longbowmen. The assault is messy and chaotic. Richard managed to mass quite a lot of siege units, and they pack quite a punch, but not enough to slow down religious tolerance and kindness. At this point, Richard doesn't really have a way to defend against us, and we slowly chip away their camp, making sure there's absolutely no way for them to rebuild. Because if they rebuild, I have to commit more atrocities, and no one wants that. Sadly, taking the aggressive route in this scenario becomes quite anticlimactic towards the end, as there is nothing left to do besides making sure they resign. The only way to make it less tedious is by researching spies, and destroying whatever they rebuilt in the fog. It's really annoying they don't just resign, but after killing a few more of their soldiers, Richard finally calls it quit, ending the scenario in 45 minutes and 22 seconds. Total runtime? 3 hours, 57 minutes and 17 seconds. Scenarios 2 and 5 really dampened what could have been an outstanding run, but I'm not too upset about it. After all, I finally managed to complete this campaign after so much time, and on moderate as well. Saladin is an absolute classic campaign. Even if some of it can be quite challenging, the story makes up for it in every possible way. With that being said, fuck Tyre. Partial time now stands at 166 hours, 38 minutes and 40 seconds, and there's only one place left to go. Drop the shotgun and pick up a bow. Also leave all hope and emotions behind, because mercy and compassion are forbidden in the last run. The Sword of Islam wants none of that. He wants blood.